We're almost ready. George Foreman here at ringside with me for round one. There's the bell. The referee is Jay Edson from Naples, Florida. Scoring is on a round system. No saving, or rather saving by the bell. 3 knockdowns in a round. The fight ends. It's scored on a per round basis. 8th round is scheduled. Larry Holmes is unbeaten. He's 27 years old. Highly regarded, 6th rated in the world. Let George Foreman tell you a little bit about Larry's style. George?
I think what you're looking at is a product of a lot of hard work. He's been protected and leaned on by a lot of good trainers, along with Dick Sadler, who was in my career at one point. So he possessed some knowledge of boxing. Although he's facing the fighter in Prater, who really believes in himself. He beat a fighter I was impressed with in Al Jones of Florida, a fighter coached by Angelo Dundee.
A year ago, Tom Prater was a fighter going nowhere. But that was a year ago. Under the canny leadership of Art Lewis and with some help from Chris and Angelo Dundee, as George mentioned, he is what we call a fighter on the improve. He is effective when he gets to the inside. He can absorb punishment very, very well. And he comes into this fight confident that he can beat Holmes and make himself a sharp contender in the heavyweight ranks.
Holmes is one fighter who believes in himself. He constantly says he will be champion of the world.
Holmes has a good left. He's got a whistling right that can deck you, but he faces a test here today for this reason. We last saw him in Landover, Maryland on April 30th when he outpointed Roy Williams, but he fought that fight with a broken right thumb, and this is his first outing since then. The question is, how is the right hand, and is the power there? If so, can it be utilized?
We'll have to see some power today because this fighter will be there.
First round action. First round action in the U.S. Boxing Championship Series heavyweights, Larry Holmes and Tom Prater.
When Larry Holmes is flat-foot, he leans his head to the left as he uses jab, sort of like the champion.
Prater wanting to get to the inside where he works effectively.
A hard right by Holmes.
Good left there by Prater. And earlier,
Holmes landed a good right hand to the body that really hurt.
You love those body blows.
That's the only.
All right, that's the end of round one. Heavyweight action, Larry Holmes at 208 pounds, 27 years of age, unbeaten in 22 professional fights against Tom Prater at 17, 3, and 1. Same age. We've got a round girl in there, Yeoman, 3rd class. Patty Hennings is her name. And in the background, the whole Navy group was singing earlier as she paraded around the ring in an earlier fight. There is nothing like a dame. We're liable to hear that again. The ring, by the way, is a small one, George, just 16 feet. No room, really, for movement.
Made to order for George Foreman. One thing to mention is we have a woman referee here, and she'll be watching those body punches like no one else. So body punches will be counting heavily in this tournament.
Oh, that scene set that our viewers just saw. Here on that flat top. Knocked off Pensacola, Florida. Round 2, action underway. Larry Holmes, the red, Tom Prater, the blue.
All right, come on, push out of it yourself. Push out of it yourself. Double up. Step right in. Step right in.
Holmes using the left effectively, George.
There's never been a great heavyweight champion without a good left hand. So he's using a good left hand, which may take him all the way to greatness. body punch by Prater.
That's right. Prater on the attack. He's unafraid.
All right, break it. We got it. Still have 4 out. Put it in his face. Overhand right now. Move in. Step in. That's it. That's it, baby. Follow up.
Prater's vision has already been impaired a bit by those left jabs by Holmes.
Either that or it's the sun because he's squinting.
Oh, hey! Do it! Reach there. Stick it in your double up.
A little cooler than it was in Windia that day in Havana, Cuba. And Jack Johnson lay on the canvas all the subsequent years. Was he shading his eyes or was he truly knocked out?
Holmes has landed good body punches. There's no doubt in my mind this fight shouldn't go over another round.
Do you think Holmes will win it that quickly?
Very quickly. The body punches have already been landed. It's a matter of him finishing them now.
For Prater to survive, he's got to get inside. Can't stay back as he has been. Be a target for the Holmes left and then susceptible to the belly blows that George has been talking about.
The handwriting's already on the wall. He's landed a good body punch. It's a matter of the
Did that left
right.
get in there?
It's a matter of the good right hand now to the chin, and it's over.
Second round action. Larry Holmes in the red trunks, Tom Prater in the blue. We're approaching the end of the second round. Jay Edson, the referee, breaking up the fighters. Back aboard the aircraft carrier Lexington. Third round action underway. Heavyweights, U.S. Boxing Championship Series. George Foreman along with yours truly, Howard Cosell. Larry Holmes having the edge in the red trunks against Tom Prater in the blue. Holmes working the second round very effectively to a point where George Foreman predicted that the bout would soon be over. But here it is, the third round. Prater is still alive. Holmes using the left, as I said, effectively and following it up with even more effective body blows. There was that right in. Larry is now using the right steadily.
He has landed the punches to set this man up for a knockout. So it's a matter of now finishing him.
Interesting thing is, remember, Holmes had a broken right thumb and couldn't use the right effectively in his battle against Roy Williams on April 30th last in Landover, Maryland. But now he's using that right and apparently suffering no adverse effects. No pain, using it effectively.
All right, boys, hold, break it. No punching.
Holmes is a good fighter, but he's not a finisher, evidently. The ability to take a man out when he's hurt, no matter what.
Like to alert our stations along the line that at the end of this round we'll be going to a station break. This is third round action, and right there, the right got in between Prater's gloves. Prater's face snapping back.
Prater's been able to land good right hands himself.
Hold it, you're holding on to the rope. Come on, out here. Keep it straight. Don't wait, Tommy.
You got off an insightful line, George, when you said Holmes is not a finisher.
He's a good fighter now. Those good
Right there,
combination.
excellent combination, left and right. Shot Prater back, the left there. Now Prater's in trouble. The legs are rubber. Let's see if Holmes can finish him off. Holmes, to win, must get off those ropes and now start pummeling him as he's doing. Again, a sharp right into the midsection.
This fighter Prater has been in some battles, man.
Prater is known for his ability to absorb punishment.
All right, push out, come on. Push it out.
That's hardly a capacity that enables a fighter to win.
Break it. Come on. Hold it. Wait.
I'll tell you, you couldn't find a more colorful referee than Jay Edson. Figure may be rotund, but the movement is there. He maintains good position, and you can hear him clearly as he breaks the fighters. Oh, what a succession of right uppercuts by Holmes, and then another right as the two were breaking. We'll return in 60 seconds with more of the United States Boxing Championships after this from our local station.
ready.
I just got hooked up on this new beast. Am I hooked up even yet? Now you're okay. We're back live. We're back live aboard the aircraft carrier Lexington. Fourth round action. Larry Holmes, heavyweight, red trunks, against Tom Prater in the blue trunks. Prater was ready to go as the third round ended. Holmes using the left jab effectively. Then the punishing rights to the body. No apparent hangover problem from the broken right thumb he suffered when he decisioned Roy Williams last April 30th at Landover, Maryland. You see that left getting in there. Prater with not much defense left, only courage. Remember, this is the U.S. Boxing Championship Series, the premiere. Quarterfinals action. And it all evolved out of the excitement, the interest caused by those brilliant young American Olympic boxers. For those of you who may have just joined us, let me fill you in again. The idea, sound in its conception, was that other diamonds in the rough in the boxing business might be found. Young people who deserved opportunity, exposure, and a better payday for boxing, and maybe in the long run, young people who could fight for the world championships themselves. So this, the U.S. Boxing Championship Series, with rated fighters, rated by Ring Magazine, the accepted rating authority in United States boxing by nearly all promoters, matchmakers, and all the rest. Of course, some fighters didn't want to be in the tournament who might well have been in it. Some good fighters. And of course, world-class fighters like Ali and Foreman and Jimmy Young and Kenny Norton aren't, for instance, in the heavyweight ranks. But in the main, rated fighters. And right now, Holmes, Prater putting on a good show. The mouthpiece coming out of Tom Prater's mouth. Down on the apron, ring, and off it. Prater, a tired fighter, George Foreman.
Great. Prater's mouthpiece falling out also.
Fell off the apron, down into the ringside seats.
He's strictly at Holmes' mercy now. It's a matter of him being a finisher, and the fight could have been over.
Certainly right that Holmes has not shown the ability to finish the opponent. Fourth round action. Holmes the red trunks, Prater the blue. Jay Edson the official, scoring on a rounds basis. Holmes entirely dominant.
I'm sure the referee is looking at this with interest now. At any time, he'd like to step in there and call it quits. If he does, it'll be the first knockout of the day. These fighters have been more determined than any amateurs you've ever seen in your life.
That's true. Put on a good show in the main. One or two bouts I couldn't in truth say that about. Walt Seeley won in the featherweight division. Pat Dolan in the lightweight. That's the end of round 4. Let me just run it down. Randy Shields in the welterweight. Mike Colbert in the middleweight. Bobby Cassidy, light heavyweight. And there's our scene set again. Pensacola, Florida. The aircraft Lexington, famous for its notable duty in World War II, in the Philippine Sea, the Leyte Gulf, Okinawa, and even the way it got its name, because its predecessor, Lexington, was sunk in the Battle of the Coral Sea. 23,000 ship workers, as you look at Larry Holmes, building a ship at Quincy, Massachusetts, petitioned the then Secretary of the Navy, Secretary Knox, to name the ship the Lexington, a revenge motive for what had happened when the original Lexington went down in the Coral Sea. There is a pride on this ship. This isn't jingoism or patriotism or anything of the sort. This is the way it is. All over this ship, they're familiar with its history. and it surrounds you when you're on it, and you become a part of it. 5th round action underway. Larry Holmes, the red trunks, against Tom Prater in the blue trunks. See Holmes with the left jab. Still not finishing the opponent. Prater's mouthpiece, of course, recovered and back in. Prater tired, hanging on when he can, and the legs obviously not firm, George Foreman.
Not at all. It's a matter of just hanging in there. He's waiting for the finish, which seems not to come. He don't possess a real punch, it seems, anyway, at this point. But Holmes seems to be waiting for one shot.
Prater at this point just pawing. Holmes totally assured, looking for a spot, but without the apparent power to finish the opponent.
As a matter of fact, he's even let the punch power go out of his punches, Holmes has. He's kind of playing combination more or less. The other fighter is no longer afraid of him, so he may build up a little momentum himself.
The theory is that Holmes punched himself out?
I don't think so. It seems that he figured he can't knock him out, so he'll go back to left or tight punches. More or less just to win the fight.
I got to be very candid. We're talking about developing important boxing people out of this tournament. If the boxers can prove themselves, I don't see how Holmes could have a chance against you with your punching power.
I wouldn't go so far to say that. In each fighter fights different when he faces a different opponent. Holmes is a fine fighter, a combination fighter. It doesn't take a good knockout to win a fight. Sometimes a victory is by way of a point. One point can win a whole fight.
Suddenly, Prater gets in there, George. He's got courage.
And that's something we've had in this whole day. A lot of courage.
There's a good left lead to Holmes. Holmes with the hand suddenly held too low. Either himself tiring from all of the punches he has thrown, or else overconfident. That right uppercut has been a very effective blow for Holmes throughout the fight. Holmes, the red trunks. Prater, the blue. The bell for round 6 action. Outdoor bout. Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida.
Prater comes
right on out. Right on out.
Prater
and Holmes, he's all over him. Trying to get inside now. Suddenly a new strength. Holmes realizes he's in a fight. He comes back. Swift moving hands. Perhaps Holmes' outstanding talent, the quickness of the hands. But Prater, unafraid, weathered everything Holmes had to give in the first 3 rounds. Holmes couldn't finish him off.
Then Prater turned aggressive.
6th round action. Holmes, the red trunks. Prater, the blue. Inside, Prater can damage you, George. He's at his best inside.
On reputation alone, I didn't think this fight would go this far. I just had no idea. There has not been one quitter.
No, but Holmes looks tired. Watch your hands, Larry. Jay Edson colorfully tells him. Don't hold him behind the neck.
They're both young fighters, so the stamina part hasn't set in yet, but they're good fighters.
Look at that. Prater coming up above the Holmes gloves with the right. Holmes looking the part of a tired fighter now. Had a sudden outburst by way of repost in this round with a whole succession of combinations. Look, keeping his hands too low, George. Holmes says. Those hands have dropped low. Look at that. Prater can get over those hands, George, if he's got... Oh, again, the mouthpiece drops out of Prater's mouth.
The quickness of Prater's punch is gone, so the hands down wouldn't bother me at this point.
You don't think so?
No, the quickness is gone.
Good right in there by Holmes.
There's no real power in either of them now, but the quickness is about gone. A good body punch by Prater. He's believing in this stuff more as the fight goes on.
George, the mouthpiece goes. How much more cautious does the fighter who loses it automatically become?
At this point, Prater has no time to be cautious. He realizes he has been behind in the fight. He must go on with mouthpiece or without mouthpiece.
Twice in the fight, Prater has lost his mouthpiece. As we count down toward the end of round 6, we'll be going to a commercial, but Prater continues to fight.
He is hurting Larry Holmes.
Larry Holmes is covering up. This is not a bad fight. It's turned out to be a decent heavyweight fight, even good. And Prater, courageous. Prater giving it to Holmes as the round winds down. Once again, the scene set, the flat top, the aircraft carrier Lexington. Now, the beginning of 7th round action in a heavyweight bout that has suddenly grown interesting. Larry Holmes in the red trunks, the predominant favorite, unbeaten in 22 fights, supposedly with a big career ahead of him, probably winning the fight. Now, I wouldn't think there'd be any question about that, but in the last 2 rounds, Tom Prater, an improving fighter, a guy whom they marked off a year ago, but who suddenly got the kind of instruction and guidance he needed, and who's got the courage, is giving a game go of it. And in fact, probably won the last round. Now you see Holmes alive again, the quick flicking left, the quick hands, getting in twice consecutively. Holmes using his boxing skills. It appeared in the early rounds that he would put Prater away, but he couldn't finish him off, a point that George Foreman insightfully made in rounds 2 and 3.
He moves real well, but because his hands are down, he should move his head a little more. He's enabling Prater to hit him with left jabs at ease.
A lot of blood in Prater's mouth. Why? Twice he had lost his mouthpiece.
Exactly.
Subsequent blows from Larry Holmes had caused the flow of blood. That left getting in there now very effectively. Holmes on his toes, dancing, moving. 7th round action. In the prior fights, featherweight battle won by Walt Seeley. The lightweight fight won by Johnny Sullivan. Earlier, I erroneously said Patty Dolan, but Johnny Sullivan won that fight. Welterweight, Randy Shields. Middleweight, Mike Colbert. Good-looking fighter, Colbert. Light heavyweight, Bobby Cassidy in a tough tussle against Willie Taylor. This is 7th round action. And don't forget, coming up right after this bout, ABC's Wide World of Sports, the Harlem Globetrotters. Talk to you about that at the end of this round. Enough to say, the Meadowlark Lemon, Geese Austin, and Marcus Haynes are their usual brilliant selves in another interesting setting, unique in its own way. Look at Holmes with that quick left jab, George.
Right. You can see the influence of the champion on this man's movement. Only his head is a little straight.
Where did you see in the Harlem Globetrotter special the cartoon characters that the Trotters will be working with? Plus, the International Speed Jumping Championship from Innsbruck, Austria, the site of the Winter Olympics. Coming up, the end of round 7. We're going to stay with you. No commercial now. The blood coming out of Tom Prater's mouth. And Larry Holmes dancing that whole round. Holmes being very effective in a boxing sense, George.
Very much what I wanted to say. As soon as he started to box, there's no competition. But he is not, at this point, a puncher.
George, I was telling the folks about ABC's Wide World of Sports coming up in the Harlem Globetrotter special. That was shot down in the great Atlanta Omni International Complex, in the midst, really, of a great entertainment center. And the Trotters put on one of their most glowing and fun-filled performances. There's a kind of jubilation in the way they participate, and you will see them with some animated characters, and you'll see them song and dance And as a matter of fact, Theodis Wolfman Lee will remind many people of the days of the old vaudevillians in a great combination, Buck and Bubbles. I don't know how many remember that, but it's a fun-filled show. And then, of course, the glorious return to Innsbruck, the site of ABC's magnificent Winter Olympics coverage and the international ski jumping competition.
Wow.
Great show. Right now, the 8th and last round coming up of a most interesting heavyweight fight, and this is the debut of the U.S. Boxing Championship Series. Larry Holmes, unbeaten in 22 fights against the unsung Tom Prater, who came in at 17-3-1, but who was given a most courageous account of himself, and at one point had Holmes tired and worried. That was back in the 6th round as the round came to an end. Holmes reassuming command with his boxing skills in the 7th. Now it's the 8th and final round, and Larry is still on his toes, dancing. And as George Foreman has told you, when Holmes uses his boxing skills to the uttermost, then it becomes no contest.
That's right. He's easily hit by a left jab that Prater throws. For some reason, he moves his body, but his head stays in one position.
He doesn't slip punches with the head very well. Tell you this, when you go against Jimmy Young on the 17th of March, you better be careful. That kid knows how to slip punches.
The only thing I'll be worried about is what you'll be saying when I'm up in the ring.
We'll be watching you with interest next Saturday on Wide World of Sports, right back here in Pensacola, when you go against Pedro Augusto.
Right. The same thing applies there, too.
Look at Holmes dancing, moving. In charge, no question about it.
Prater believes he can knock Holmes out now. He's putting the pressure on. He wants to mix it up.
Well, now Holmes is covering up in the corner right above it. Got the gloves in front of his face.
He's getting hit by hard punches.
Oh, good left. Now Holmes fighting back. Quickly, combination there. Now he's got Prater in trouble. Prater didn't think Holmes had that much left in him.
He was surprised. He didn't know he had that much in him.
Waited and came off those ropes with a whole flurry of combinations. Interesting fight. Final round action. Holmes back in the corner. Don't forget, this is just the beginning of a whole series, the U.S. Boxing Championship Series on ABC television. ABC Sports bringing it to you.
Prater is trying for a knockout, there's no doubt. He believes he can knock Larry Holmes out. He believes he can knock him out.
As the fight winds down, I don't give him any chance to do that. I'll tell you this, once they break and they're out of the corner, and unless Holmes is punching, he's got a tendency to keep his hands awfully low. And that's an invitation to a disaster against a fighter with quick hands and a good punch.
They're both bleeding at this point.
The fight, as you can see, about over. So the fight is over. Jay Edson, the referee, who did, by the way, a good job breaking the fighters. The rope being placed over Larry Holmes. Prater's mouth being tended to. We'll be back with the decision in a moment. That's the top of the aircraft carrier, the USS Lexington. Did you see the television antenna up on top? They have that so that when they go out to the Gulf of Mexico, they can watch Monday Night Football.
7 rounds, 1 even. Judge Shane scores it 7 rounds, 1 even. Referee Edson scores it 6 rounds, 2 even. Advancing in the heavyweight championship, Larry Holmes.
Larry Holmes, an overwhelmingly unanimous decision, and he deserved it. He was utterly dominant, but there were moments, as you saw, when Prater fought courageously and indeed seemed to have Holmes in trouble.